Chun-Li jacket on. New kicks too, call me Kim Capital. Got my bread up and nothing jigger stack it on. Bills doing keto, they ain't even stacking on. Out of hustling, different continents. Foreign exchange trades and I ain't got no common sense. No features like I can't take a compliment. Committed to the game, but hard to be monogamous. Too many fish in the sea, and I wanna see them. Gotta be at the way to be up in my DM.
Splash.
Handle my own lane, ain't got no time for being. Already in the car, let's get and on my toilet paper, 2-ply. Pretend to fall through when you wishing for a blue sky. And on my toilet paper, 2-ply. Pretend to fall through when you wishing for a blue sky. And on my toilet paper, 2-ply. Pretend to fall through when you wishing for a blue sky. And on my toilet paper, 2-ply. Man.
Yo, what is up? What is good? What is up? What is down? What is going all around? No, I'm just fucking with you. Hey, this is episode 30. Holy shit, we have reached episode 30 of the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. Hope everyone is having a good Friday. Hope everyone is having a good week. And, you know, me, same old shit, powering through it, living my life, you know, doing the damn thing. But, cool to be back again, as we are weekly, with another podcast episode. I'm still, I don't want to say sick, but I'm still having symptoms. It's weird, too, because the other day, like, probably, yesterday was Thursday, so, like, on Tuesday and Wednesday, I was feeling, like, a lot better. By, like, Wednesday, I didn't have a sore throat, no headache, no runny nose, none of that stuff, and I just kind of had a cough still, but it was, like, really slight. Like, I would, like, kind of cough, like, every now and then, but it wasn't super bad. And I had the day off, so I was just chilling. I was writing, watching some anime, catching up on manga and whatnot, and I felt great. And then I woke up Thursday at like 10 because I had work at 11, so I even got to sleep, and I was fucking coughing again, like really bad, and my sore throat was back. So sore throat is chilled down again today, so I'll try to extra rest, I guess. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't try to be too loud when I record today, because I don't want to fuck with my throat. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, excuse any coughing or sneezing or sniffles you hear. That's me still trying to get over it. It should be done soon. I don't tend to get like super sick at the start of the year, but I always get like really bad symptoms. Like I wasn't even sick before. Like I just kind of had like the cough, but I didn't feel like bad. Like, I didn't even have a headache. I don't know why I said a headache. I didn't really have that. The only time I would is if I was, like, I coughing fit myself into a headache. So, yeah. But, anywho, guys, today, what are we going to be talking about? Just shooting the shit, shooting the breeze. I want to go ahead and try to get those first impressions of Tales of Vesperia out, because I'm well more than a first impression in on Tales of Vesperia. I haven't played in the last 2 days just because I've been catching up on manga and anime, which I'm going to talk about, too. But I really like the game, and I want to talk about it. Maybe try to give a little more insight on it. But first, let's do some quick news. So, quick news today. In regards to, like, anime stuff, the one major thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that My Hero Academia is entering its next arc soon. I don't know if it's next week or not, or if it's like a few weeks from now, but it's the School Festival Arc. I actually really like this arc. This is coming from me being a manga reader. I'm up to date. I really like this arc. It's a very chill arc. There's like some training with Deku mainly involved, and then there's like one major fight in it. But for the most part, it's very chill of an arc, which I kind of like. I like the way it's set up. Usually you don't want, like, immediate downtime for a long period of time after a big event in the shonen story. Like, we just got out of the whole thing with Overhaul and Deku doing the Infinite 1% with Eri. And, spoilers, R.I.P. my nigga, Sir Night-Eye. But I feel like he executed it really well. He did a really good job at, like, even though this was, like, and it's like an arc. It's not, like, a couple of chapters. It was, like, an arc. It wasn't as long as the overhaul part, but it was like, oh, okay, this is an event. It's not just going to be like a 2 or 3 chapter transition. The villain that is going to be appearing, fucking awesome. I love him, and it's weird to say, but this is such a wholesome arc with such like kind of like a wholesome villain. And if you like the way My Hero Academia is written as a story, just purely like with the characters and the world and stuff, you'll enjoy this arc. If you're always in it for that action, you were like excited for the overhaul stuff because, oh, you're like, oh, finally, like something cool like this. You might not like this arc as much because it's a lot more chill, but it flows really well into the story, and it's a good like transition into the events that are going to unfold over the next 2 arcish parts. 2 or 3. There's like 3 or 4 things in between where the anime is and where the manga is. And the manga looks like it's about to start the next event or the next arc in like a day or 2, so you know, it'll keep moving ahead. So the pacing of the My Hero Academia anime is actually really good. I'm like surprised. They haven't had to do a lot of filler. Like there was a filler episode at the start of this season. The same thing with last season, but it was like an episode. Like they don't fluff out a lot. They'll have like a filler episode maybe here and there, but they haven't had to make like filler arcs or anything like that. So it's nice to see that, and I think that is just because, you know, it's a seasonal anime, so we have to wait a long ass time before season 4 came out. So good on them for the pacing and keeping the story together, especially they did the overall arc in like 12 episodes, 13 episodes. Really good, very good. But yeah, be excited for that, the school festival arc, especially if you're a fan of the writing of My Hero Academia. It's solid all throughout. It's a fun time. You get to enjoy, like, you know, more characterization from the other students and just see them living their lives and getting to know them a little more, as always, which I think is really good since they have such a big class cast. It's nice to hear from the other students that aren't, like, main characters. But yeah, cool. Also, another thing, I watched one of the 2 shows I wanted to talk about. First off, the shows I said I wanted to watch were ID Invaded, which I did watch. I'm current on that anime. I've watched all 4 episodes that are out right now. Excuse me. And the other one, I remember what it's called. It's called Inspector, or something like that. Like Inspector, but it's like /something Spectre. I have not watched it yet. It's on Crunchyroll, and I just have to set my Xbox up and watch it. But I'll probably watch that, if not today, then at some point over the weekend. I'll just, you know, sit down when I get off from work over the weekend and just binge watch however many episodes of it are out. And I also need to watch the newest season of Food Wars because I haven't watched it yet. And I'll probably, you know what, I'll try to watch Inspector today so I can give my thoughts on it next week. And over the weekend, I'll watch Food Wars, because that's like 12 episodes or something like that. But yeah, the one show I did watch was ID Invaded. Interesting so far. I can't go over the whole premise. I'll probably have to rewatch like the first episode or 2 again just to get the names of the characters down a little better. But the premise is in this world, they have like a machine or some kind of device that they can use to kind of essentially get into like a killer's mind and solve cases. So like, say there's like a killer they're looking for, but they don't have the ID of the killer. They have a device that can pick up like some kind of particles they've left over or something like that. I don't remember the exact names. Like I said, I'll probably have to go back, watch like the first 2 episodes just to get character names and some of the terms down again so I can remember. But they collect these particles and they're able to create a thing called a well. And a well is pretty much like thoughts a killer has, or like inside of a killer's mind. Then they send someone inside of that mind to piece it together and solve a mystery that goes along with that well. And if they solve that, the people on the outside monitoring are able to ID the killer, find where they are, catch them, solve the case. So it's an interesting premise. Oh, and then the people that go into the wells it can't just be anybody. One of the prerequisites is like they've had to have killed somebody themselves. So like I don't know a lot about the main character because they've been revealing it piece by piece in every episode, but it seems like he used to be a police officer, some kind of detective, and he had a wife and daughter, and something happened to them and they died. I don't know if he killed them specifically or if they got killed and then he went on some kind of like killing spree or something like that, but it looks like he's killed somebody and he got arrested because one of the people that monitors the well seems to know him, like maybe they were partners or something like that. But I think his name is Sakaido. Like I said, I got to go back and reread the names. But they inject him into the well because not only was he already a detective before, so it's a good idea to put someone with detective experience in. He's killed, so he's able to enter those wells. But there's certain rules that apply when you enter a person into a well. When you enter them into the well, you kind of erase their memories temporarily, so to speak. The only thing a person remembers when they enter the well is like their first name, and there's always like this girl that serves as like a murder victim. So when you go into somebody's well, it's always the same girl and she's already dead. And the goal is to figure out how she was murdered, and that on the outside helps them piece together where the actual killer in reality is. So every time he goes in, he's like, I don't remember anything. The only thing I do remember is that my name is Sakaido. I'm a brilliant detective, and I'm here to solve, I think her name is Karu's murder. But also, Karu kind of looks vaguely similar to his daughter in a way, too. There's like a lot going on. It's interesting, though, because I like that concept of having to go into a killer's mind and, like, solve the mystery from the inside out. And also this other layer of mystery of what exactly happened to Sakaido to get him arrested and what happened to his family and how did they die. I know his family is dead. That much is pretty much, like, thrown out to you, plain and simple, and within, like, the first 2 episodes. His wife and child died. I don't know exactly how they were killed, though. They haven't really said that yet, unless I'm supposed to piece it together myself. Like I said, gonna have to go back and rewatch some stuff to piece it all together. It's interesting. The one thing I would say is, the one thing I would think is kind of an issue, it's not the whole thing of like, oh, I gotta go back and rewatch and like get names down. That's a personal thing for me. When watching stuff subbed, I have to like, I take in information better when I can hear it verbally clear. So like with names and stuff, it kind of like gets jumbled into the subs with the rest of the language sometimes for me. So I have to re-watch the episode to reread the subs to get it in my head. Like reading it, you know, you're going to take the information in, but for me, like verbally hearing something and verbally having something, or like actually having something demonstrated to me as well, are the best ways I take in information. So I'm just gonna have to rewatch the episodes. That's some personal thing. But what I was gonna say was, I think the only issue that the story as a whole kind of suffers from is the first 2 episodes, I will say, are kind of jarring, if that's the right thing to say. Like they toss you right in. Like, you're as confused as Sakaido is when he's in that first well. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And you don't really get everything, all the information you need until the end of the 2nd episode, once you watch the first 2 episodes. Excuse me. Those 2 kind of going hand in hand. You kind of understand what's happening. But it's really jarring, because a lot of information is thrown at you at once without any explanation. But it works for the story because the story is like a mystery and like kind of like a little thriller-ish kind of has thriller-ish kind of aspects. So you're trying to figure it out as they're figuring out cases and figure it. So it goes along with the story and it fits well. So it is kind of jarring, but once you get a feel for what the story is and what it's trying to accomplish, you're like, okay, this meshes well, and I'd rather have this happen than have them stop every time a term is brought up and explain it to me. They don't have to explain a lot of stuff because you kind of like visually see it, but you gotta watch those first 2 episodes. I say it's best to watch the first 2 episodes back to back if you only have time. Like, oh, I'll just watch the first episode and see how it is. I say watch episode 2 as well to get a feel for it. But it's interesting so far. We'll see how it goes. It's only 4 episodes in. So I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like a 12-episode run. And that's just going to be the whole series. Is it going to be like 26 episodes and that's going to be the whole series? Is it going to be a 12-episode season and we're going to have a season 2? I don't know yet, but we'll see what happens when it happens. Music. I listened to the Dreamville Revenge of the Dreamers 3 director's cut, so I'm sorry. I said it had 15 songs in the original album or something like that, or 16 songs, and it added them. No, the original album has like 18 tracks, so this added 12, so that was my mistake. Even still, that's 12 extra songs. The songs were pretty good. I listened to all of them. I like them. They were cool. But one thing I will say, I can see why they weren't on the regular album. You can, like, tell, like, they cut those 12 tracks or something like that, if those 12 tracks were made originally and then cut. I just feel like that's how it was, because it's called a director's cut. But you can tell they picked those 12 tracks to cut because they didn't quite fit the feel of the other 18. Like, the 18 tracks on just regular Revenge of the Dreamers 3, they feel like they all go together. They feel like this was a project that was meant, like these 18 tracks were meant to be this one project. And then the extra 12 songs on the director's cut were just what they cut. Still cool, worth a listen. I enjoyed them. Fun time. Didn't feel like my time was wasted. But yeah, I can see why they cut them, and I appreciate the fact that they decided to cut them and then just release them later in an uncut version, because the album, the 18-track album itself is great. Also, 18 tracks is already pretty long of an album, especially when you have some longer songs that are like 5 or 6 minutes on there. And adding those 12 extra for a 30-track album would have been a lot to take in all at once. So, good on them, good on them. Oh, and just so I can bring it up and get out of the way, yes, I know M released an album like 2 weeks ago. I know I'm late on bringing it up, but it's because I didn't really have a strong interest in it. So, before I get into this, please, 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 chill the fuck out, is all I'm saying. Because I don't hate Eminem. His music just isn't for me. That is what I'll say. That's just how I feel about him. That's it. I don't hate him. I'm not going to sit here and hate on him. Personally, for me, I don't vibe to his stuff. And if you need a clear-cut reason as to why I don't really vibe to his stuff, not that I don't like a single track from him. There are a few songs here and there over, his career that I do enjoy. I won't say I don't. But my thing with M is, people are like, well, and even M said it too, like, you want me to rap about some serious stuff, and then I do, and then I release Revival, and then nobody wants to listen to Revival. My thing with M is, when M isn't rapping about the stuff that he's rapping on in Revival, just, going and flowing, his flow is great. His cadence is really good. I don't really care about his subject matter, because I kind of feel like it's the same subject matter throughout his whole discography when he does rap like that in those songs, or he'll make like a really stupid joke, trashy song. And a lot of artists do, but I feel like he does a lot. That's my personal opinion, and it's not bad because he has such an overwhelming music catalog. That's why it seems there's so many. But then there's also the fact that, then he does rap about serious stuff, like how he had Revival and, Recovery and all that stuff. But my thing is, I don't think he raps well about that subject matter, if that makes sense. When he's rapping about that serious subject matter, I don't feel like it doesn't sound great to me. You know what I mean? It just sounds like really generic when he does that. So then when he sticks to his style, I feel like it's the same stuff rehashed. That's my personal feelings. And that's not like me getting into deeper detail. That's just kind of like that surface level, like me giving you a reason. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to start I don't want to get people pissed. Oh, this fucker hates Eminem because he's white. I'm like, it has nothing to do with his race. Like, he's just not my cup of tea. And I have not listened to all of Music to Be Murdered By. I'm not going to say I have. I've listened to a good couple of tracks off of it. They were cool. They were solid tracks. Some of them were kind of corny. I will say that too. Eminem can be kind of corny, but there's a lot of artists that can be kind of corny, so I can't really fault him for that at all. There's plenty of artists that I listen to that can have some corny fucking songs. But overall, I'm like, it's cool. So far, it just seems like another M project to me. I'll listen to the whole thing when I get the chance to. I'll sit down and just, play through the whole thing. And then maybe next week, I'll give, full thoughts on the album as a whole. But, like I said, he's just not my cup of tea. But I'm not going to sit here and shit on him. Because that's not my business. I'm not going to speak of somebody I don't really listen to. That's why you don't hear me talking shit about, Cardi B or something like that. I'm not going to talk shit about her as a person just because I don't like her music. She can go ahead and live whatever life she want to live. Good for her for being successful. I'm not a fan of her music. That's it. I'm not going to publicly go out and shame her. That's weird. It's weird that people get mad when you say you don't like an artist because then they think you're automatically about to shit on that artist. And it's just I have the right to dislike an artist. I'm just not going to say anything about that artist because I don't care. Why would I speak about them if I don't listen to them? So that's where I'm going to leave it. I don't really have any other music news. I've been so busy with work and writing and catching up on manga and anime. I haven't been listening to music. Maybe this weekend I'll hop on Saturday or Sunday after work. I'll look up some stuff to listen to. If anyone has something to recommend, leave it in the comments. Comment me some music to listen to. Gaming. I've been playing Tales of Vesperia. So, anything new? Oh, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. My brother got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I don't know if I talked about it last week. Did I? Because last week was last week it came out. Last Friday it came out, right? So I think my brother had just barely gotten it. I've been watching my brother play. He's in the Android Saga, about to do the whole Imperfect Cell stuff. Cool game so far. From what I've seen and what I've fucked with a little bit, dabbled in, it's a fun game. It's alright. I won't give a full thought or review of it until I actually hands-on play it. So don't expect a review of a full-ass review of Kakarot from me personally for a while, because I still got to finish Vesperia. So maybe before I start 3 Houses, I'll do a run-through of Kakarot. Because I plan on getting 3 Houses after I finish Vesperia and playing through that. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, I don't have any other really gaming news. The way I do quick news, it's news that I'm interested in. I'm not really some kind of journalist or informing people of the whole spectrum. It's just kind of me giving my opinions on things I'm interested in. So just to clarify on that stuff. But I want to recommend some stuff to people, just manga-wise, game-wise, and music-wise. I think I'll start doing that more often, just so I can give people a little more insight into my head. So manga-wise, Blue Exorcist, if you have not read Blue Exorcist, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of the anime. Fuck that anime. Don't watch that anime. Once you get to episode 13 of the first season of Blue Exorcist, it fucking goes off canon hard, and I don't know why they butchered the story so bad. And it was such a weird ending for that season. And then they did the Kyoto Saga after that, but I was just how are you going to do that when you already fucked up the canon? When they start going off canon in season 1 is where the Kyoto Saga is supposed to take place. If you watch the Blue Exorcist anime, you know when they're doing the little training camp thing and Ren goes full on, he draws his demon sword and he has his blue flames out and the rest of the class sees, and then they go to the little trial and court thing. That's when the Kyoto Saga happens. They transition to the Kyoto Saga from there, instead of a Maimon attacking and Rin killing him. A Maimon's not dead. Like, as far as the manga is right now, even, a Maimon is not dead. Rin would have no fucking chance at killing a Maimon at that current point in the series. No fucking way. They really downplayed my boy. So I just want to say that. They butchered the plot. I didn't watch the Kyoto Saga because I was like, they probably gonna fuck that up too. And I heard they did. So, please read the manga because that storyline got no justice in the anime. Oh my god, I finally caught up on, I was like 7 chapters behind. Because it's like a monthly or bi-monthly kind of release for Blue Exorcist. But, I was like 7 chapters behind and I caught up last night. Whoo, boy. That story is fucking fantastic. Please read Blue Exorcist. Like, just forget what you know about the anime and just read it because, oh my, it's such a well-crafted plot. Like, I wouldn't put Blue Exorcist in my top animes just because I don't like the way they handled the anime adaptation. But I probably would lean to put it in my top manga. Like, it's probably definitely within, like, the top, at least the top 20. I'd have to sit down and think about it, but it's, like, at least in my top 20 favorite manga series. It's really fucking good. It's just, I don't want to talk about it too much because I want people to read it. I don't want to spoil it, but I want to give you, like, reasons to read it. Oh, God, it's so good. Like, the truth about, oh, see, I don't even know if they mentioned the Illuminati in the anime. But yeah, the Illuminati is a thing in Blue Exorcist. There's a spy amongst their class. Some shit with Yukio happens. Oh my god. One thing I will tell you is that as far as I've read right now, I'm not going to tell you what chapter it happens. They show you exactly what happens during the Blue Night. So if you watch Blue Exorcist, you know what the Blue Night is. They show you exactly what happens. Like, everything. And boy, it is some they even show you all the events that lead up to it, what triggered it, like, everything. It's fucking incredible. Oh my god. It's really good. So yeah, Blue Exorcist, I recommend to read. That's a good manga to read. In terms of music, artists that I recommend, I played him a couple of times and I brought him up. I did an album review about it last year. Toby Lou, the Live on Ice album that came out last year, the same day as the YBN Corday and Chance and Rich Brian. They all kind of dropped their albums the same fucking day. So I reviewed all of them in that podcast. Oh, God. Toby Lou, I feel like, needs more exposure and more credit. He makes some vibin', chillin' fucking music, bro. He's got bars. He's got a nice little melodic singing voice. Beats are always chill or hype, depending on how you feel about it. And he's just got really catchy hooks and just... He puts a smile on your face when he puts out a track because you could tell he's like really feeling his music, dude. He's vibing to himself. He's not cocky, but he's really confident in who he is, and that like really translates through his music. Like you can feel that. It's just like you can't help but to be like, oh shit, I'm vibing. So yeah, if you want something like that, Toby Lou, definitely. Songs I recommend to listen to first to maybe get a feel for them, I say The Blue, Buff Baby, Solange, Waterboy, it's called Waterboy. Tracks like that, get a feel for him, and then just start diving into whatever music you can from him. He has a YouTube channel, of course. He has songs, music videos. Live on Ice is the latest project he released. It was a long album too. I was sad last night, but I'm okay now. Like, that song, whew, that song is a fucking mood, bro. So, Toby Lou, music artist I recommend. Games to recommend, or a game to recommend? My guy. Dragon Age. Which Dragon Age? All of them. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about Dragon Age 2, and a lot more people have some feelings and opinions about Dragon Age Inquisition. But overall, all three games are received positively. Mostly positive. Especially the first game, Dragon Age Origins. It's a trilogy of games so far. They're working on Dragon Age 4. Please, BioWare, don't fuck this up. I'm scared. But we'll see what happens. Dragon Age, I've brought it up before. Dragon Age is my favorite games. Those are my favorite games of all time. I love the Dragon Age series. Inquisition is my favorite. People are going to hate me for saying that because people are like, Origins is the best. I think Origins, out of all three stories, Origins story is the absolute best. I don't know. I like the feel and the world exploration and the whole, like, some of the crafting stuff within Inquisition a little more. I just had, overall in terms of, like, gameplay experience, I had an overall more fun time on Inquisition. And I also think Inquisition's plot is really good. I like all the companions, especially my boy Varric coming back. I love my nigga. I don't hate Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2, my favorite part of it was your player character, HiK, because I made my HiK a smartass. That was the first game I, like, officially streamed back when I was streaming. I streamed all three Dragon Ages with all the DLC story. So I played through Dragon Age Origins, then I played Origins Awakening, then I played all the other DLC stuff that went with Origins. Then I played Dragon Age 2 and all its DLC add-ons, and then I played Dragon Age Inquisition and all its DLC. Dude, I fucking love the game. I loved playing it. It's such a fun experience. Feeling that world and that environment, it's so good. If you like Mass Effect, which a lot of fucking people do, let's be fully fucking honest. Mass Effect is another fantastic series. People have mixed feelings about Andromeda, mostly negative. I've already talked about Andromeda before on here, so I'm not going to bring it up again, but the Mass Effect trilogy is fucking a masterpiece of storytelling, especially in the sci-fi genre. I'm not super big on sci-fi, but Mass Effect definitely got me a little more into that kind of storytelling, so it was super cool. And instead of having, like, a different, like, main character each game and focusing on whatever plot they're going through, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, you play as Commander Shepard through all three games. So you just are this person throughout the whole entire series, making all these decisions and judgments, making friends, making enemies, watching how your decisions impact the world because you are that character. So if you like Mass Effect, you'll like Dragon Age, because Dragon Age is medieval Mass Effect, and Mass Effect is futuristic sci-fi Dragon Age, is what I say. And Mass Effect is like, the shooter RPG, where Dragon Age is more of the traditional action-based and tactical RPG. So, yeah, please play Dragon Age. And that's it for all that news. Ooh, excuse me. So next we're going to move into the Yu Yu Hakusho episode review. We're still doing that. I'll try to be a little quicker on this one. This episode is a little more straightforward, but there are some things I like to point out on it because it was pretty interesting watching it. So we had episode 2, I think it's called Koenma Appears, or Vibes or something like that. But where we left off, Yusuke was like, okay, I'll do this ordeal to get my life back because people actually miss me. So Bochan takes him immediately to Spirit World. So when we get to Spirit World, it looks really ominous. You can see the river Styx down below. You can see the gates to enter, the main castle. And it's really scary looking, creepy, and Yusuke comments on it. As Botan tells him they're going to meet King Yema, Yusuke's like, yeah, this dude must be really important if he rules over all of Spirit World, and he must be a giant, and he must be huge. And Yusuke's first thoughts are like, how am I going to beat this fucker up? He's like, Yusuke's first thoughts were, how am I going to fight King Yema, the ruler of Spirit World? And I just love that about Yusuke's character, because he automatically thinks, like, how am I going to defend myself against this big fucker and, you know, try to run things? And as we get to the door to enter, like, the main office, you think you're about to see, like, creepy shit, like these ogres and monsters doing crazy stuff. That's what Yusuke's expecting to see. That's what it's been kind of built up to, what you think is going to happen. And then you see these ogres, just big-ass ogres in loincloths. Like they're in like a office space, like in a building, just doing meetings and closing deals, but it involves like human souls and families, and, like paperwork, and Yusuke even comments it looks like the dead people stock exchange. So it's funny. I like how the show likes to build up certain points of importance as a little more ominous, and then you're just like, dude, it's you know, same old shit as the world of the living. Just to kind of make you feel more accustomed and comfortable. And I like that the way they did that, how it's just like, we're busy, right? Up in Spirit World, it's all business. We got to get this shit done. I like Tagashi's take on it. And Toriyama does that in Dragon Ball. King Yema wears like a suit and he has a desk. So there's always that. So we meet, instead of King Yema, we meet King Yema's son, Koenma. And Koenma, it looks like a baby, and Yusuke fucking immediately laughs. I love how naturally Yusuke reacts to things, instead of being like, oh fuck, King Yema and these ogres and spirits, and like, he knew King Yema was probably going to be a big threatening dude, but then he was like, how am I going to kick his ass? He sees Koenma, the son of King Yema, and laughs in his face because he looks like a baby. Yusuke gives no fucks, and the series never let up on trying to stress that point, that Yusuke gives no fucks. So I always appreciate how natural and consistent characterization of all the characters are in the story. Botan's freaking out. She's like, dude, what the fuck, dude? Like, don't point at him. Don't do all of that. Also like to point out, dub versus sub argument aside, who gives a fuck? Watch how you want to watch. You're your own person. For me, it depends. Usually, since I try to be more active in watching anime as it comes out, especially nowadays, I will end up watching subbed, just because that's what comes out first. But if I'm like watching a series that's already been released and has a bunch of episodes, and they're already dubbed, I'm probably going to watch it dubbed. Like, that's just how I feel. As long as I personally don't think the dub is god-awful. A lot of people say all dubs are bad, but I really like to disagree, because Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood especially, fantastic dubs. Durarara has a pretty solid dub. What else? Dragon Ball Z Kai. Not Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z Kai has a pretty good dub. Super's dub was hit and miss, but that was like their first time voice acting those episodes and lines. And Yu Yu Hakusho. Yu Yu Hakusho's dub is fucking great. I'm sorry, it just is. What's his name? Who voices Yusuke? Sonny Strait? Fucking fantastic. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Sonny Strait I think that's his name, that voices Yusuke. Great fucking voice actor. He also voiced Raditz in Dragon Ball, and he voiced Chiba in Back Mongolian Chop Squad, which is my favorite character of Back Mongolian Chop Squad. So, and then, you know, we get the whole conversation with Koenma and Yusuke about the whole ordeal. Jokes aside, they get to that. And Yusuke receives an egg. This egg's supposed to hatch a spirit beast. So this is Yusuke's ordeal. As Yusuke goes about the world of the living, the more good deeds he does, the more good energy is fed to the beast. The more bad things he does, or more bad vibes or intentions he has, the more negative energy is fed to the beast. So when the beast hatches, depending on how much energy of what kind was fed to it, it can either become an ally that helps him get his life back, or becomes a monster that devours his soul. So he has to be careful. So in this course of events, the next few episodes of this arc, oh my god, excuse me. I'm sorry, that came so sudden. Yusuke has to... Fuck, I stumbled all over words. Let me go back. That cough really fucked me up. Sorry. That cough really had me fucked up. So now we're in this arc where Yusuke has to go around the world of the living, doing all the good things he can, so the spirit beast can hatch all positive and revive Yusuke's soul back to his body. Thus, the ordeal to get his life back arc begins. This is probably like the least action-y arc out of any arc in Yu Yu Hakusho, which is funny because Yu Yu Hakusho is known as a classic hardcore shonen, but like the first like 7 episodes don't really involve a lot of action. There is fighting in it, but not like major high stakes fighting. But before he can really get into that, he has to make sure they don't burn his body. Yusuke's body is going to be cremated, as per tradition. But if his body is burnt, his soul's not going to have a body to return to. So he has to somehow communicate to his loved ones, hey, don't burn my fucking body, which is the whole basis of this episode. So he, immediately heads home to try to maybe communicate with his mom. And Botan informs Yusuke, like, hey, bro, the only way you're really going to be able to communicate with people in the living world is through their dreams. So we get to his house, and his mom, as usual, is drunk. And crying and yelling and blaming Yusuke for dying. She's like, strong people get hit by cars all the time and live. Why'd you die? Why did you want to leave? Like, she's being a lush. So Yusuke's like, typical her. It just gives her another reason to be drunk. Let's go. So then the next best thing they do is go to Keiko's house. And this just really, this whole episode also, solidifies the fact that Keiko and Yusuke are just meant to be together. If the first episode already didn't establish, this relationship, this one definitely did. And one thing I like about Yu Yu Hakusho is they do act like, oh, we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, but they clearly are, a thing throughout the whole series. And I appreciate the fact that Tagashi was just like, they're a fucking couple. It's not going to be like this will they or won't they. It's just it's not a will they or won't they situation. It's more of a when are they just going to admit it kind of situation. They're clearly a thing. They clearly have feelings for each other. They're clearly in love. And though the cast throughout the series teases them about it, no one's ever going to question the fact that they're a thing. And I think this episode really punches down on the fact that they are a thing, because he visits her when she's sleeping, and she's dreaming about him, where'd you go, Yusuke? Why'd you leave? And she even can feel the weight of his spirit sitting on her as she's sleeping, as he's trying to talk to her. She even says he's heavy, and he's like, what the and it's a really cute, kind moment. But the next morning, when Keiko goes to try to warn Yusuke's mom not to burn the body because she had that dream, even Yusuke's mom informs her that she had a dream that Yusuke was fighting a bunch of ogres until he was going to become their king, and saying, that sounds like something he would do, wouldn't it? Which is funny, because earlier in the episode, he was talking about, I'm gonna beat King Yama ass. So, yeah, his mom knows him well enough, and Keiko doesn't want to take that sense of comfort from her, so she doesn't bring up the fact that she had a dream about Yusuke saying, don't burn my body. So she's kind of taking the dream at face value. It's it was just a dream at the end of the day, because his mom had a dream. So then Yusuke needs to find another way for his body not to get burnt. This leads to us finding out that Yusuke can also possess a body temporarily to communicate with the living. But they have to be kind of attuned to the spirit world, have enough attunedness to the spirit world, and be someone Yusuke knows. So, Yusuke's like, I don't know anyone like that. Luckily for him, he does. In comes my boy Kuwabara. So another aspect of Kuwabara that we learn about is Kuwabara is naturally aware of the supernatural and has a natural sixth sense ever since kindergarten. But he does not fucking like it. He always gets like this nervous chill down his spine. He gets really cold and scared whenever he can sense a spirit nearby. And so that already establishes Kuwabara as being like someone who's going to be involved in this story, but at first did not want to be involved with any of this shit. And I feel it, Kuwabara. I vibe to that real heavy. But then Yusuke possesses his body, and now he has to find Keiko. So first thing he does is, in Kuwabara's body, he runs to Keiko's house and demands her parents to, like, let him see her. Like, where is she? And he's, like, saying he's Yusuke. But they don't take too kindly to that because Yusuke and Keiko were childhood friends. Yusuke grew up knowing that family, and they really liked and respected Yusuke in a way. So they're like, why is your ugly ass in here speaking ill of the dead? And I'm like, poor Kuwabara. Kuwabara would never do these things. Kuwabara has, like, a high honor code that we find out next episode. But Yusuke's running around, like, all impulsive, trying to speak to Keiko. Fucking up Kuwabara's rep in a sort of way, because he was like, Yusuke was never ugly like you. And I was like, God damn, just ripped into my boy. And he gets thrown out. So he keeps looking for Keiko. But then we find out Kuwabara isn't just trying to pick fights with Yusuke. Kuwabara, to prove his toughness and manliness, picks fights with every fucking gang in every fucking school possible. So as Yusuke is looking for Keiko, he keeps running into thugs left and right that Kuwabara has beef with. So that wastes a bunch of time because Yusuke has to fight them all off in Kuwabara's body. Also giving Kuwabara an even better reputation because he's throwing these hard-ass blows. And they're like, damn, I never knew no one could throw a punch like that besides Yusuke Urameshi. So it's just like, god damn. Like, even in another person's body, Yusuke got hands, bro. So he's all beaten and bruised from all the fights and jumpings he's been through. And he looks fucking bad. I'm like, poor Kuwabara. But then he finally finds Keiko after he sees her friends exit a store. He goes to talk to them. They see his ugly ass face. They bolt. Because he looks beat the fuck up. Then he sees Keiko looking for her friends. So Yusuke's like, I have to find some kind of way to let her know it's really me. So he does the classic Yusuke the pervert trick. Because he's always perving on Keiko. He runs up to her and grabs on the boobies. And Keiko immediately is triggered, slaps homeboy across the face, and knows it's Yusuke. And she's just like, I know, just like, you know, your mannerisms and the way you act and speak. I knew it was you from the moment, from the start. It's just like, yeah, you knew it was him when you fucking clocked his shit with your school bag. So Yusuke breaks down what's happening right before he exits Kuwabara's body. Then Kuwabara, you know, is left confused as to where the fuck is he? Why is he bruised? Why did Keiko just slap him? And I'm just like, poor Kuwabara. He gets redemption next episode, but we now establish the fact that Kuwabara is more than just, you know, Yusuke's rival that always gets beat up. He also has some kind of spiritual awareness that'll, you know, at least play some kind of minor role in the story. But if you watch the opening and ending, you clearly know that Kuwabara is probably going to be a main character. Spoilers in the opening of the show. But it goes on. Keiko goes to Yusuke's house to tell his mom, like, hey, don't burn him. And she's just like, no. I know he's alive. I opened up his coffin just, you know, smack him one more time for leaving me. And I'm just like, this series is so consistent with these jokes, and I love it. But she is like, he has a pulse, his cheeks have color, and he was alive. And that ends that episode, essentially, with Yusuke's spirit beast egg feeding off his intentions. Whether they were good for what he did or bad for all the bullies he beat up, we don't know yet. But then next episode is going to be a Kuwabara episode, where we get to know his character a little more. But going back to episode 2, overall pretty good. Sets the stage for what's going to go on throughout the rest of this arc. Pretty much, it's going to be kind of like a case by case. No pun intended, because he's going to be a spirit detective. But case by case basis of like there'll be an episode with a situation happening, and Yusuke is going to try to pitch in and help out with whatever's going on, and we'll see if that negatively or positively affects his spirit beast. And then they do that, like, I believe, like, the first 5-6 episodes is just the ordeal to get Yusuke's life back. Which is, I like how they adapted it, because I think in terms of chapters, it's like the first, 12 chapters of Yu Yu Hakusho is kind of like that. I don't remember for sure. I haven't read Yu Yu Hakusho in a really long time. Like, from the start, at least. But, it's a good start to a series, honestly. Regardless if you're a fan of shonen or not, I feel like episode 2 really catches you catches you in enough information, like about visiting Spirit World and seeing how things go down there and the whole Spirit Beast egg thing, and you want to see how that unfolds. And Kuwabara being psychically aware sets up a plot point. Whether or not this Spirit Beast is going to go well sets up a plot point. What's going to happen when Yusuke gets his body back sets up a plot point. So if you hadn't watched Yu Yu Hakusho before and knew absolutely nothing about it, it intrigues you, I would say. So I don't think this episode is as strong as episode 1. Like, what did I say episode 1 was? Like an 8? Probably give this one like a 7, 7.5. It's a solid episode. This is me speaking objectively too. Like I said, subjectively, I would give every Yu Yu Hakusho episode like an 1,000 out of 10. But it's a solid episode. It's interesting. I might even give it an 8 too. Like they cool. They're cool episodes. They keep you entertained. And it's just to set up the events that are to come. And I don't want to say it's like a slow burn or a slow start, because it's only like the first 5-6 episodes that kind of work this way, and there's enough action bits in it to keep you into the action. But it's not like full on like Yu Yu Hakusho shonen stuff yet in the beginning. But good stuff so far with that arc. Doing a retrospective is a little harder than I expected to do with Yu Yu Hakusho, just because I've already seen the show so many times. It's harder for me to kind of speak of it unbiased, if that makes sense. Like, I want to praise every episode, of course, but I also want to be fair in judging these episodes. But honestly, I don't think these episodes are bad. So, like I said, I think like the beginning arc is a bit of like, I don't want to say it's a slow start because it's only a couple of episodes, but it as far as shonens go, I guess it's a slower start. But, it's worth it. Like, the payoff is definitely worth it once we actually get into Yusuke becoming a spirit detective and seeing that unfold. So, it's kind of crazy to think, too, because for, like, the next, like, month, maybe a little over a month, we're going to be talking about these ordeals to get Yusuke's life back episodes. Because we're only doing an episode a week. But, anywho, thing I wanted to talk about. Tales of Vesperia. I want to call these first impressions, but at this point, they're definitely more than first impressions, because I don't know how far I'm into the game exactly, because I've never played it before, but I have almost 40 hours into the game, but I also do a lot of level grinding, so I can't be like, oh, I'm 40 hours in, and maybe people are like, oh, you should be this far, and maybe I'm not even that far yet, but, just to go over it, Tales of Vesperia. If you haven't heard of it before, Tales of Vesperia is a part of a a franchise of games known as the Tales series. I don't remember exactly what the first Tales game is called because I've never been like super into the Tales series, just never got a chance to jump in when I was younger. But each game, I believe, is usually set in its own world. I think like Tales of Symphonia and Tales of another Tales game are like connected, like one is the prequel to another. And I think they do that here and there, but for the most part, I believe most of the games are set in their own worlds with their own storylines. So, Tales of Vesperia is set in this world. I don't know where to begin on this. It's set in this world where there's this empire, right? And currently there's no emperor. But the empire has, you know, the royal families and like their council and these imperial knights. And from what it seems like, not a lot of people agree with the imperial knights, and some people do. So the main like excuse me, the capital city is split up into like these quarters. So there's like, you know, like the middle quarter is like the main market one, and then the high up is like the royal quarter, like the royal little district, and then you have the low quarter where all the poor people live. So when the story starts off, they're like, you know, explaining a few basics of the world, like monsters roam around the world and it's dangerous, but there's these devices called Blastia, which provide people use of like magic and certain other special abilities, and there's different kind of Blastia that do different kind of things. And the main Blastia that we hear a lot about is a barrier Blastia. So any major cities, like the capital city, like the Kingdom City where the Empire is, and other major cities and places usually have a barrier Blastia. Barrier Blastias are set up to keep people safe from monsters. Monsters can't get past the barrier, so they can't enter the city. So a lot of people spend most of their lives inside cities with barrier Blastia, because why would you leave into the dangerous world of monsters when you can live a nice, peaceful, quiet life within the barrier? But there's still a lot of, like, you know, problems persisting, especially with the low quarter being shafted in the main capital city. So when the story starts, we learn about the barriers, we learn about that stuff and monsters, and we learn about this magical kind of substance known as air. It's pronounced air, but it's spelled like differently from like regular air that you breathe. But I believe, you know, that's the idea of where they got the name from, which I think is cool. And that's kind of like the basics for a lot of the magic that goes on in that game, and how people can do certain things and how Blastia operates. And when the story actually starts, I know I keep saying when the story actually begins, but it's a lot of information at first. But pretty much the basic story is, it starts in the lower quarter, and we see like this fountain in the lower quarter, and somebody's taking the Blastia out of the fountain and just leaving. So then the fountain goes out of control, starts flooding, the water looks really nasty, and people are freaking out. Then it shows our main character, Yuri, sitting in his window in his room, chilling, you know, and a kid runs up, he's like, Yuri, like, the Blastia is acting up, da-da-da-da, they want you to come down and help. So you and your trusty little pup, Rapide, go down and check what's going on. So we get introduced to Yuri, and he's, right off the top, you can tell he's kind of like, I don't want to say a loner character, but he's kind of like that cool guy. And he's just like, oh, you want me to do, oh, okay, yeah, we'll check that out. But people dig him seemingly, and he seems to, you know, help out, do jobs. And we also quickly learn that he's not a big fan of the Empire or the Knights. So when Yuri goes down to help with the fountain, he notices that the Blastia core is missing. So there's these machines that operate the Blastia, and then there's Blastia cores. Both of these are needed for Blastia for anything to really operate. So Yuri's like, the dude who they paid to fix the Aqua Blastia in their fountain in the lower quarter just took the shit and left. So he was like, we got ripped off. And he's like, oh, they went up to the royal quarter. Well, I'm going to go up there and check this shit out. And so he does. He sneaks in. And his only goal in the start of this story is to just retrieve the Aqua Blastia core, go back to the lower quarter, and put it back. And just, help the streets. Help the streets. So he starts getting wrapped up into some stuff. He sees Homeboy trying to escape with the Blastia core. He chases him outside. He gets caught by some Imperial Knights. This is where you get introduced to the basics of combat, which I actually like. It's kind of it's an action RPG kind of experience where when you get into a fight, it takes you into like a battle screen section for fights to take place. And you can move around freely around this field of space and do specific attacks and moves and whatnot. So, you have a button that you do your basic attacks with, and then you have a button to jump, button to block. You can change targets, this and that. Gives you the basics of controls. It's a tutorial fight. But then you also learn about arts. And arts are like your special moves. So what you want to do is combo your basic attacks into arts to keep extending your combos. And then when you get more party members with you, you can coordinate combos and arts to continue chaining combos for longer and longer and longer and longer. The idea is you want to deal as much damage in a combo as possible and try to kill your opponent as fast as possible without them really having a chance to retaliate. You don't want to drop combos because it kind of leaves you open to an enemy comboing on you, and you don't want to get jumped. So to try to shorten the story down into a summary as best as I can, pretty much, the story is set in this magical world where air is kind of like this source of magic. This term called air is like a source of magic, and there are barrier blastias protecting cities from monsters from the outside. The lower quarter gets their blastia stolen. Our main character, Yuri, lives in the lower quarter, goes up to the more royal quarter to steal it back. He gets caught and arrested. Some events unfold. He manages to escape while a bunch of other shit is happening, and he runs into a girl that seems to live in the castle named Estelise. Estelise has a message to deliver to a man that Yuri actually knows from back in the day, and he doesn't really describe them as friends exactly, but he knows of him, and he's like, alright, well, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, we'll escape together. This leads them on the main course of their adventure. Yuri seems to be actually an ex-knight who quit for his own personal reasons, while Estelise seems to have lived in the palace and been raised as a princess, which we find out more about later, who is gifted in healing arts, which surprisingly everyone is always astounded by when they first see it. So it must be something rare, but there also seems to be something deeper going on with her character and her power. So this mission to go outside of the barrier, outside of the capital city, to find the guy that stole the Aqua Blastia and retrieve it, while Estelise is looking for this person to deliver some important news or message to, slowly starts to evolve into something deeper and deeper as they go on. Events lead them to another place where they have to go through a forest, and they run into a kid named Carol, who is a part of guilds. Guilds are outside of imperial jurisdiction because they don't agree with the empire. So Carol joins them for certain reasons, and as the story progresses, you kind of get more and more of these people joining up with you for their own reasons, and you guys all kind of become friends and form a just cause, just like JRPGs do. One thing I'll say about this story is it juggles a lot of different goals of these different characters, but juggles them in a really nice way. It doesn't seem like, wow, the story doesn't know what it wants to do with all these plot points. It seems like, wow, the story has all these plot points and it's balancing them out really, really well. Like you have Yuri, who simply wanted to get the Aqua Blastia, but as we get to that first act or portion of the story, he starts to change objective into something different and might be going down a more darker path, doing what he feels is necessary for justice, whether that be killing some government officials that are some shady bastards, Whether or not that's the case, we don't really know Yuri's full intentions, but we do know he means well, and he doesn't think the Imperial capital, the Empire and the Imperial Knights, are getting the job done due to the restrictions of laws and such. You have Estelise, who simply wanted to deliver a message, and now she finds herself on this journey to find out more about herself, why certain events happen, why she's being targeted, and why something even called her, like, a poison to the world. You have Carol, who wants to prove himself to the guilds because I guess he's known as a coward who's been kicked out of every guild he's been in, and forms up a guild with Yuri and travels with them to, form a guild and make a bigger name for himself, and so on and so forth with all these characters. Everyone has their own goals, and that's common for a lot of JRPGs, but usually they have one unified common ground in mind. And that doesn't seem to be the case, at least so far. It seems like everyone has their own objective, whether they fully revealed it, haven't revealed it at all, or only partially revealed it. Everyone seems to have their own objective, and they all just happen to be going the same way in a sense. So they just keep traveling together. No one seems to be like. Not everyone is, like, fully formed together on one single task. It's always like, okay, well, I'll help you with this since I'm going to do this. And I feel like over the course of the adventure, that's what's going to happen. Because as I was playing through, like, that first act, I feel like it's kind of like that first act. They have comments. Like the cool part about this game is you're traveling around, they'll have little skits where, like, text dialogue pops up between the characters, and you just sit there and watch the scene. You don't even have to press a button to continue the dialogue. They'll just do the full little skit. And this way you get to learn more about the characters because they interact with each other, talk about certain events that are unfolding during the main plot or a side mission or terms and whatnot, and you learn more about them. But as we moved out of Act 1 into Act 2, they seem more friendlier towards each other. Like, they're traveling and learning more about each other and becoming actual good friends. And I feel like something might happen that could try to force that friendship apart, and they're going to have to learn to keep it together as the story progresses. I don't know how far I am into the game, like I said, because I haven't played it, but that's how it seems. And also there's even, when you finish a battle, they'll have, like, little endgame dialogue, and sometimes characters will interact. Like Estelise, she's never been outside the kingdom, so things, amaze her, and she's like, oh, high fives and shit like that. And during, like, the first arc, there's a character, she's a mage named Rita. Fuck Rita. Rita's a bitch for the sake of being a bitch. All she cares about is Blastia. Maybe her character will change. She seems to be slowly getting nicer during this second act portion, but so far she's still just mean to everyone and only cares about Blastia. Though she does show that she has a bond and friendship and cares about Estelise in a way. Because during Act 1, there's an end scene where Estelise will be like, here, raise your hand like this. And Rita will be like this, and try to give her a high five. And Rita will be like, what was that? What was even that? But in Act 2, now when that scene happens, Rita's fully down for a high five. So I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. They actually, like, show, like, development in little ways like that. It's those little things that really show the characters are bonding and learning from each other and have a good time. And I really appreciated that. And also, Yuri gives Estelise the nickname Estelle because, Estelise is kind of a weird name. And Estelle digs it, but for, like, most of the first act of the game, Rita refers to Estelle as her full name, Estelise, even when she said, just call me Estelle. And now we're in this portion of the game where even Rita is calling Estelise Estelle. So it's just like, oh, okay, so maybe Rita is softening up. Carol is showing a little more bravery at certain points, but he is still cautious of a lot of things. But I can't blame him because he's young. But he also shows a lot of know-how for certain guild things and monsters and categories, so he always has some useful information. Yuri, he killed somebody and didn't really say anything about it yet, so none of the rest of the party doesn't know what he's done yet, and I guess he's still trying to kind of keep it a secret. The only person that knows is his dog, Rapide, and even Rapide has grown, because before Estelle would try to give Rapide a high five, and Rapide would just kind of look at her and be like, eh. now he, like, at least, like, raises his tail towards her, like, hey, yeah, okay, cool, we're friends. The only one he seems to react to, like, more positively than anyone is Yuri, because they seem to be best buds. So that's kind of cool. That I like the way the characters develop, and I like the way the game expresses the characters' development. And the little skits, the banter is really good because you can it tells you, like, these guys really, like, travel together every day because they have these little quirks and these little side conversations, and certain people talk to others in a certain way. And I wonder how it's going to progress from here, and I wonder if some dark shit's about to go down soon, because shit did get kind of real at the start of Act 2. Like I said, Yuri took justice into his own hands without telling anyone else. So we'll see how that progresses. But in terms of, like, plot characterization, really digging it so far. The gameplay is fun. I still feel like I suck at the gameplay, like the whole, like, where you're supposed to execute combos and arts. But practice makes perfect. I also am doing a lot better because I got a Pro Controller for my birthday. My uncle got me one. My birthday was in January, by the way. January 15th. It's still January. Yeah. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. I got a Pro Controller, and before I had the Pro Controller, I was using my Joy-Cons with the Joy-Con Drift. And that shit was hard to play, because I would want to do a certain move, and to do a certain art or a certain, like, combo of your basic attack, you have to flip a stick, the left stick, in a certain direction. And, you know, I was telling you, my Joy-Con Drift always wants to force the left stick to move me up. So I would do the wrong moves and get hit, or I would swing the wrong way and then get jumped. When I got that Pro Controller, oh my god, I was like, oh, I don't suck as bad as I thought. This Joy-Con was just fucking over my gameplay experience. So now I feel a lot more confident in battles, but I still need to practice. I need to practice with the other party members, because you can switch which character you fight as, and there's certain items that do different things, like, oh, this will be like the party leader when you're in the overhead map, or now I have an item that lets me switch between what character I want to play as during battle, rather than, like, having to choose one before a fight starts and sticking to it. The only person I'm really good at playing as, though, is Yuri, because I play as him the most. He was the first person you play as. He's the main character. So I'm only really good at Yuri. I need to practice with other characters, because there might be situations where, I don't know, Yuri's temporarily not in the party or some shit. So I'm going to have to learn how to deal with him not being there. I also got to learn how to balance items better, block and get ready so I don't lose a lot of health, because what if there's fights where Estelle isn't there? Estelle is like a healer. She's your only major healer. Like, Carol has a move right now that can heal, but it's not a lot of health. So I'm probably, when I'm level grinding or, like, grinding up to learn skills from, like, weapons and stuff, I'll probably switch between playable characters and try to learn their combos a little better. And I like the one aspect about the battle, a lot of aspects about the battle system that I like is it's getting really, really, really complex, but it slowly introduces you to all these things as the story goes along. So by the time you're used to something, it adds a new thing in. So then you have time to only have to get used to that one new thing. That way you're slowly learning everything on, and now it's not like, oh man, there's so many things to try to figure out all at once. And they also have ways you can set up strategy plans. So, like, say if I want a defensive strategy plan, I can choose what the AI does when I tell them to switch to defense. Like, if I want someone, when we're switching to a defensive formation, to stay back from the enemy, I just go to my strategy grid for that defense formation setup, go to the character, and set them to keep a distance. If I want people to keep a distance once their health gets to a certain percentage, I can do that. So you can have these formations that you can switch to during battle to keep you safe from certain situations or keep you aggressive during battle. And you add those on to, like, you know, what arts you equip to characters and what combos they can use. who you have on the field at a time, so what combinations you want to use with certain people. There's these things called fatal strikes, and they pop up at certain times when you do specific arts. And they allow you to deal critical damage to an enemy. Usually you'll probably kill them if you do some shit like that, unless they're like a boss. And it gives you bonuses, like some give you more experience for doing a fatal strike on an enemy. Some give you more money for doing a fatal strike on an enemy. So there's that to take in. There's burst arts, which are kind of like ultimate moves that you have to do when you do like this kind of burst meter thing. There's a lot to take into the combat, but the way they introduce it, like one at a time, you're already kind of like very capable of the stuff previously. So when the new thing gets introduced, it's just one new thing introduced. So I kind of have a feel for everything. It's just more I have to apply and practice it to master it, which is really cool. I like that it's not hand-holdy, but it's very good at having you learn it on your own at that pace. So I appreciate that with the battle system. A lot of games try to just drop you in and not teach you anything, and that can be frustrating, or they're too hand-holdy, and that can also be frustrating. The music in the game fucking slaps, by the way. I like the battle music. I like, a lot of the tracks when scenes pop up in certain moments of the story. The opening, I always vibe to it. It's really chill and laid back. For something that I feel is going to have some darker moments, they're just like, let's just, give it that happy, positive opening vibe, bro. Ring a Bell is a good song, so check that out. That's all I can really say about it for now, just kind of like the basics. I can't give like full in-depth on like characters or plot purely because I'm not done with the game. So, but from what I've all taken in, I really like it. And I know the whole like the Tale series has been around for a long time, but it's something new and refreshing to me personally because I haven't really played a game like this before, or a JRPG that's played like this before in terms of like, the battle system. And then the whole skit thing too, where like there's skits in, JRPGs and RPGs and stuff like that. Like, those talking and bonding moments like in games like, I'm using like a lot. Let me try to get my words together. In games like Dragon Age, they have those scenes where you can have moments where you bond with the character and maybe lose some approval with them or gain some, or if you want to romance them, you can romance them. They have those aspects, but in Tales, they don't really have those. It's more of a guided narrative. You don't really get a choice in certain things, but that's fine because the guided narrative is really good in the way they execute it. Instead of like kind of explaining bits, you'll be traveling and like, oh, a skit popped up. You can play the skit if you want. And you can listen to what they have to say, and it's like, oh, that was cool. That was neat. You get more insight. And they pop up every now and then. Sometimes a couple will pop up within a few minutes just to pour some info on you. But the way the info's poured on you is natural because it's a scene where characters are interacting rather than one person's talking to you and just explaining a bunch of stuff. It's everyone's having a conversation. And sometimes the skits will involve 2 people. Sometimes it'll involve 3. Sometimes it'll involve, like, everyone you have in the party at that point. It all depends on what's happening. And you learn little bits. Like, we learned earlier in the game from a skit that Carol's afraid of bugs and giant insect monsters. And then everyone talks about a fear, and then Rita's like, well, I'm not scared of anything. And they're just like, come on, Rita, don't hide the fact that you're scared of something. And then later, there's this little game section where we end up on this haunted little pirate ship, and Rita is clearly afraid of ghosts, or more so the fact of she's scared of the unknown, whatever science can't explain, because she's a scientist and a mage and stuff like that. So everything she understands about the world is something she can research and break down and figure out. So anything supernatural that can't really be explained by the means of like science or research, she's afraid of. She's afraid of the unknown, essentially, but she's scared of ghosts. And she doesn't want to get on the ship. She immediately wants to get off. She hates being stuck there. So later that whole thing about Rita saying, well, I'm not scared of anything, is brought up in that section. So I like the fact that they do stuff like that. or how Raven's seen shady and shifty, but he's like kind of like an informant or little spy member for the Dawn. Oh, Raven's the old man I was talking about earlier in the prison cell at Yuri, by the way. He works under the leader of all the guilds in this place called Dawngress, where all the guilds get together. The Dawn is like the leader of all the guilds, and Raven is a part of that guild. So he's keeping watch on Estelle for some reason under the Dawn's orders, and he's also traveling with them because, you know, his goals happen to align with whatever they're doing. So you get those little aspects and quirks from everybody. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Seems like there's a lot to still yet be revealed, but Tales of Vesperia is really good. And I'm kind of mad I didn't play it sooner. But other than that, I'll try to give updates maybe like next week, because I'll probably try to play it today. I haven't played in a few days just because I was catching up with some anime and some manga I've been behind on. Like I said, I caught up on Blue Exorcist. I caught up on My Hero. I caught up on this one called The Gray Man. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. For those who have and thought The Gray Man was canceled long ago, it was. Then it got picked up again. Unfortunately, The Gray Man releases a chapter every 4 months. So if you want to keep up with The Gray Man, you can look it up and read it. But once you catch up, you're going to be waiting a long-ass time for another chapter. You might even have to read back from a certain point way back because you haven't read it in years. I recommend that purely because The Gray Man's story has gotten so fucking complicated that if you don't remember certain things, you're going to be like, what is happening? The latest chapter I read, I went down to the comments of whatever site I was on, and people were like, dude, it's been so long since I read a The Gray Man chapter, I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. Hopefully it's ending soon. I mean, she's making a chapter once every 4 months. She better be ending this fucking story soon. And now that I think about it, I haven't seen or heard from from my boy Lavi from The Gray Man in years. Lavi was one of the main characters in The Gray Man. A certain event happened not too long ago in terms of like when you think of actual chapter numbers. But when you think about how long ago that chapter was released because of her release schedule, it was years ago this nigga Lavi got captured and went missing. So I'm like, what happened to Lavi? Please tell me he's okay. He's my favorite character. And I haven't heard from this nigga Lavi in like 4 years. I miss him. Longer than 4 years. Probably like 8 or 9 years. Because she went on hiatus for a long time. But if you read that story before, you might want to go back like 30, 40 chapters and reread those. Because I had to do that because I had no idea what the hell was going on. They were talking about things that I was like, I vaguely remember this, but I don't know what this means. And every 2 chapters is a plot twist. And I feel like she's trying to wrap the story up, but since she's making the chapters so slow, by the time you read a new chapter, you forgot what happened last chapter because it was like 4 or 5 months ago, and you just kind of put it out of sight, out of mind. So if you don't want to go through that, I say just wait for it to be finished, and then when you find out it's finished, maybe just reread the whole series. And it's funny, too, because the story only has like 225 chapters. So it's in terms of like a manga, it's not even that long. It's just the fact that it takes so long before a chapter to come out, for a chapter to come out, that it's like, fuck, dude, I forgot. But yeah, I've been busy doing that. I still have to catch up with Attack on Titan and Made in Abyss. I've been reading those. I'm a good chunk behind on Attack on Titan. I want to say I'm probably like 10 chapters behind. So once I can sit down and binge read those 10 chapters, because those chapters be long too, like Blue Exorcist. Probably even longer than Blue Exorcist chapters. Once I can sit down and do that, I'll do that, and then I'll read Made in Abyss. I'm not rushing towards Made in Abyss, though, just because I hear he or she, I don't remember if the author of Made in Abyss is male or female, but I know Made in Abyss chapters take forever before they fucking come out. That's what I've heard, at least. But also, a Made in Abyss Season 2 got confirmed. Forgot about that. It got confirmed a few weeks ago. So any fans of that series, Season 2 is on the way. Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you're into some fucked up stuff, go ahead and watch Made in Abyss. It starts off looking very happy-go-lucky and then gets dark very, 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 very fast. It is not a slow, gradual turn to like, ooh, this is dark. It's just like something happens and you're like, oh, this is dark. Like, ooh, it's good though, because you want to figure out the mystery. You want to take in that mystery and be like, what the fuck is this? You want to know, which is what the characters in Made in Abyss want to know. They want to know what the abyss is. So they keep traveling down, and even though they know they could die or worse, like you gotta unravel a mystery. But that's pretty much it for everything. I'm gonna watch Inspector, if not today, then this weekend. So by next Friday, I'll have thoughts on that. I have no idea what the show is about. The title just kind of caught my attention. Seems spooky, so I'm gonna watch it. Maybe I'll watch it at night if it's scary or something. Freak myself out. But that's about it. Go ahead and like Art Project's Facebook page still, if you haven't done that already. That's the best way to find out whenever I'm gonna do updates on the story for that, what I'm gonna be talking about on the next podcast. I also upload the podcast episodes to that too. So if you don't feel like listening to this on Podbean, you can listen to it on the Facebook page directly. It always comes up a few hours after it's uploaded on Podbean. I have it set to auto-upload, but I have to wait. And there's also a YouTube channel for us, but I don't know if we're like shadow blocked or something, but every time when I try to search my YouTube channel, I can't find it. Maybe it's just because I'm like so small. Like, the YouTube channel doesn't get a lot of traffic, but I don't usually push the YouTube channel is why. Because all it is just another place that I upload the podcast episodes. So, it's just, another place if you want to listen to them there. But I just like to give options is all. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So, thanks for listening this week. So, next week, we're going to have more quick news. Hopefully, we'll get some more information about certain things. I'll talk about Inspector. I'll probably talk about more of It Invaded, because another episode will be out by then. I don't know when the School Festival Arc starts. Excuse me, for My Hero. But it should be soon. If that starts next week, we'll talk about it next week. But I don't think it does. I think it's like a few weeks from now. More updates on my playthrough of Tales of Vesperia. Another Yu Hakusho episode review. The huge. But I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for 30 episodes. And later.
Gotta stand in the corner, the way them cheeks be acting up. So much junk in the trunk, wonder what she packing for. Anytime you hit, she backing up, moving like some gelatin. Can't control a skeleton. Mouth open like a pelican, and no, it ain't my fault. I swear that ass control my thoughts. This shit gave me all your money, can't believe the shit I bought. Had to rob my freaking grandma just to cover what I lost. That booty be squeezing out of them thigh highs like some toothpaste. She know what she doing when she bend over to tie her shoelace. She know it don't take that goddamn long for her to tie her shoelace. She hypnotized with booty, she doing her duty. She looking back at me in my face. Boom, ba-doom, that ass. 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 I like the way that booty. I like the way that booty. I like the way that booty. I like the way Music.